Men today are weaker, slower, and less masculine than they ever were before. Body fat is up, estrogen levels are high, and testosterone levels are lower than they ever were in the last 20 years. And no one's talking about the reason why. If you're a man over 40, you feel weaker, you're losing your sex drive, and you're not as confident as you used to be, you definitely want to stick around to watch this full episode because this one can change your life forever. Let's go. Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to the Pure Motivation Podcast Show. I'm your host, as always, Dimitri Giancoulis, and today we're going to be talking about testosterone. We're going to give you some tactical tips on how to work on increasing testosterone. So not only can you be a good father and a good role model to your family, but you can live a life with high quality, vitality, energy, be confident, and be able to look in the mirror and be proud of the man looking on the other side. So I'm going to begin by introducing our guest. I had to write down a few things because this guy's got a lot of accolades here. So today I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming a true legend in the fitness industry and to the Pure Motivation Podcast Show. This jacked, totally shredded. He's wearing a shirt right now, but if he takes it off, he's got lines and definition that you won't know. But this handsome fella is a former beach volleyball and indoor volleyball player. He turned certified personal trainer, kettlebell specialist, and he was an MMA conditioning coach, having worked with top-level UFC fighters. He's also a 4-time Amazon best-selling author. How many books have you written, brother?
Five books. Five times.
I haven't written one yet, but I'm going to follow in this guy's footsteps. A very successful online entrepreneur who's built multiple fitness programs, founding his own online supplement company. And he's helped thousands of men over 40 reclaim their health and their vitality. Most recently, he's become a certified hormone and testosterone specialist.
2 years, yeah.
Awesome. And this is one of the main reasons why he's here today, because he's going to share light and education to all you guys watching today. But beyond all the accolades, what truly stands out about this guy is his authenticity. He is not only the most down-to-earth, super humble, super successful guy. Don't let his nice, quiet appearance fool you. But he's supportive to guys like me, smaller guys in the industry who are just moving their way and, building their future. Today, I'm honored to finally have him here for a podcast at headquarters to share his expertise on one of the most important topics for men over 40, and that's testosterone, longevity, and optimizing male health. So without further ado, let's have a warm welcome for the man, the YouTube sensation, and the true pioneer of online fitness training, Mr. Mark Funk Roberts.
What's up, brother?
What's going on, bro?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you so much.
Grateful to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for that intro. That's an amazing intro. And
I was up typing it all night, man, so to make sure it's right.
You did great. No, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the opportunity to sit and talk to your followers and listeners. One of the things before we start is this gym, Pure Motivation Fitness, is absolutely incredible. When I first came in here, I was blown away. I've shot at many gyms. I've been to many gyms all over the world. But when I came in here, there was something about this place, right? Like just the fact that you have, the machines, you have the cross training, you have kettlebells, you have bags, you have everything in here.
Performance-based and it's boutique.
Absolutely. So it's everything. Everybody can work out here. But I just want to give you a tip of the hat and a shout out. I love what you've done here. So
I couldn't have done it without my wife, Francesca. So if you're watching, you know marriage, number one. So I'm going to first jump into how we met. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago.
2 years ago in Nashville.
Yeah,
at a mastermind held by Vince Del Monte, and it was for online fitness coaches. And what was really, really good is we connected, we shared experiences, we talked about people we know in the industry because he's been doing this for how many decades?
Probably 25, 30 years
25.
now.
I've been in the industry for at least 2 or 3 decades. And we talked about Toronto, the gyms, the good, the bad, the ugly, what's been good. But one thing he really helped me do was he helped me refine my online coaching direction. And he reminded me to always be authentic and true to my story. And just out of COVID, when my club shut down and I was going through a major depression, a lot of men were reaching out to me out from YouTube and from social media, and they were saying, hey man, I'm in the same position. I have this issue with my life. My family's not doing well. My health is not good. Can you help me? So I was in a position where I'm like, who do I help? Do I help co-ed? Do I work with men or work with women. And for anyone watching, probably thinking that's not a hard decision. But when you want to go all in and you want to devote yourself to help people, he was the one who said to me, he heard my story and said, you need to help men. And you had trauma in your life, and that came for the reason. More importantly, he's always been there to answer questions, give me advice, and help out as a mentor, which has really been important to me. And he's always been real. So he actually had me on his podcast because he heard me open up about my story, and you made me feel so much more confident and so much more stronger, bro, when I shared that. I want to find out a little bit more about you, your childhood, what you were like growing up. Like, were you an athletic kid? Did your parents force you to do sports? What was your background, man?
No, that's great. My background, I'm from Toronto. I'm an only child. I have two parents who are absolutely amazing. And growing up, really and truly was just, I was a latchkey kid. Latchkey kid meaning,
I don't know what that means, by the way.
Yeah, I wore a key. So when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, I would go to school with a key because my parents worked. Both of them worked, right? And so because they worked 9 to 5 and what have you, when I got home from school, I had to prepare the rice and take out the meat so that when they got home, they could cook. And then they went out because my parents were also athletes. They were high level athletes. So they would go out to practice and they would go out to play, to compete. And so growing up, in the summers, like sure, school, it was school, but then in the summers,
you got that open time, you got nothing to do.
Yeah, nothing to do, and my parents were working, so they put me in YMCA sports camp. Big up to YMCA sports camp because that really laid the foundation to my athleticism.
Your first coaches.
My first coaches, which were they were definitely brutal, but sports camp was awesome because every single summer, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I would go to sports camp. Remember, I'm an only child. So that allowed me to build the discipline, build, just athletic, everything that goes around athleticism and playing sports. That's what I built up. And then when I turned 11, my parents brought home a weeder gym. Right, like just a bench, cement plates with the gravel sand in it, right, plastic, and that was my introduction to working out. So I would, I remember my friends would come over. Kevin Joyce would come over. Him and I every single day would go to the basement and do biceps. That's it, biceps. We just wanted huge biceps. So that kind of kept me in touch with sports, and I got Sports Illustrated, and then my parents started to buy me Flex magazine, Muscle and Fitness, as I was getting older, right?
My mom started saying to me, you're 14, 15, you got all these pictures of men, like, do you have any women? I'm like, no, they're bodybuilders, I love them.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. So I started to become enamored with the bodies, the physiques, right? Serge Oliva, I loved, it's just so many. And so that was really, the other thing about my parents, I want to say this to most fathers and grandfathers and parents who are watching. They, as I mentioned earlier, they were high level athletes, right? So they would go out, practice, and they would come home every single week with trophies. Like all I saw them do was go to work, come home, cook clean, go practice, come back, go compete, come back home with trophies. We had a whole room filled with trophies. Amazing, man. And I never had trophies. That was one of the things I always wanted. I always wanted a trophy. But my parents, they just showed me through just their actions, the hard work, right? Like they didn't need to tell me anything. They just
indirectly, they were kind of indirectly you learned.
100%. And that's one of the things that I want to, the message I want to share is your kids, your grandkids, they are looking at you. They're seeing you by action. You just telling them what to do and not doing it is not going to be enough, right? Like you truly, truly, truly have to
get involved,
live what you're saying, right? And that's what I saw. So as I got into my teens and went into high school, I played all sports and I accelerated at each one of the sports. And football was actually the one I wanted to play. I wanted to be a quarterback. But then when I went to Dumbarton High School, they didn't have football. They were a rugby school. They're the best rugby school in Ontario, Canada.
Rugby's hardcore, man. I played grade 9. They stepped on, trampled on. I was the only freshman I was the only one playing on a senior team.
Yeah. No, it's an amazing sport, but I wanted to play football. So at that time, football and volleyball were at the same time. So the school had no football, so I started playing volleyball. Nice. And right off the bat, one of the things in my mindset was always I wanted to dominate. I always wanted to be the best. Like I always wanted to be the best, not maybe because I was an only child in an Aries, but I always wanted to be the best, which meant I knew that I had to do things outside of.
And you also had great parents that showed you what championships looks like. So that kind of rubbed off on you to want to become a champion too.
Yeah,
which is great.
100%. So throughout high school, I played volleyball. I played at a high level, and then of course I'm morphed into professional indoor and professional beach volleyball. I played all around the world. I played at the highest level, represented Canada. I played for over 10 years.
Nice.
And kind of like in my 20s, that's what I was doing, indoor and beach volleyball, but mostly beach. And then after I retired, it was a 9 to 5.
How'd you transition from professional athletics to fitness coaching then?
Oh God. So, all right. So, I was a professional athlete, but I still had worked sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like I still had to work. There was only 2 years where I literally, all I did was play beach volleyball because I made enough money. But when I retired early. I retired at 30 years old, right? That's early for beach volleyball because you're playing on the beach, you're not playing indoors. You're not beating up your body.
Right.
And there was, I just fell out of love for training. That's the reason why I knew that when I started to come home hating to be Sandy and hating practice, I'm out.
Change it up.
So the transition happened really, it was a transition from like actually having now to work 9 to 5, right? So now I had to do a corporate 9 to 5 job, right? So I worked at Dell Computers, answering phones, selling phones, in a call center, right? But here's the thing, my mindset of being to dominate was still there. Yeah. Steve Proger, that was Steve Proger and I were older. We were in our 30s, early 30s, whereas everyone else at the call center, they were in their 20s, right? So they were just kind of hustling. But Steve and I were like, okay, listen, you and I are old here. I want to become a manager. It's like, yeah, I want to become a manager too. Like, I want to do this as quickly as possible. So we're at home sales right now. We want to go to business sales and we want to go to management. Steve Proger did it in 6 months. I did it in 9 months. Nice. And we moved up that corporate ladder. And at the same time, I was still, doing my own
training.
Working out. But then I got my certification through CanFit Pro because I wanted to see. Okay, let me get a feel for training.
Explore what one
because I was always training the athletes. Like when I was playing, I would always, like, if you and I are playing against each other, we're always practicing beach volleyball. Right. So we'd always train. I would always do plyometrics. That was one of the things that I first got. My first certification was plyometric training. Nice. Right, jump training, because I'm only 5'11", and I'm playing beach volleyball against guys who are 6'4", 6'5", and can jump out of the sand. So I got my certification, and I started doing one-on-one personal training. And literally after the 6th session, I hated it. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm doing this. I didn't like training people one-on-one because I had to motivate them. I didn't like motivating them. I didn't like the fact that they wouldn't show up. I wouldn't do the work. I just couldn't do it. So that was good for me. It was a lesson because that was one thing I learned I didn't like to do.
Well, it shows you what you like and what you do, and you follow your heart.
Yeah. And so the next thing that I transitioned to, remember, I'm still doing 9 to 5, was boot camps, because there was no boot camps in Toronto at this time. I was probably the second person. Ryan Shanahan had his boot camp. I had a boot camp at the beaches, and I would have 100 people coming to boot camp, because there was no boot camps. And so I would be lugging.
This is like 20 years ago, guys.
This is like when I was in my mid 30s. So whatever, I don't know. Timing is so off for me, right? Like, it's so long ago. So I would be lugging kettlebells, freaking Liebert. I would be lugging dumbbells all to the beach or to the park, and then everyone would show up, and then I would create these like stations, circuit stations, right? And again, I loved it because now I'm able to help more people.
One to many.
But again, it got very tiring lugging all of the stuff, right? And so the online fitness world started. Right. So that's where I kind of said, oh, let me dive into this. I'm seeing guys like Vince Del Monte, Craig Ballantyne, all these people crushing it online. And so that's when I started to start.
The reach is much wider too.
The reach is much wider, and the ability to do things like blogging was a big thing back then. So I had my own blog, I had my own newsletter. I moved to another job, so everyone at that job, they knew who I was. Right, they were on my newsletter list, and so like they're coming up to me every day. Hey, Funk, I need my biceps, or my legs, or what should I eat? What shouldn't I eat? So I became like that center,
the guru.
But one of the things that I learned was that the passion. I would work 9 to 5. I would come home, and I would shoot videos, or I would blog, or I would, and I would be up till 2 a.m. and then have to work again.
Right.
But that stuff that I was doing before wasn't work. So that's kind of how I kind of morphed in, right? From 9 to 5 and having to slug away 9 to 5, which I hated, but it paid the bills, to the boot camp and online.
So then let's fast forward. Then you completed the training one to many. You went to online. You started working, coaching UFC fighters. I know you have like some MMA coaching background.
Yeah.
How did you go into like the online space with men, and what are some of the challenges you faced?
When I was 39, so throughout this 9 to 5 corporate world, my body started to change, right? Because I was always working out, and and I was a high level athlete. But when I was 39, I started to feel things were changing, right? So here's one thing that happened. I was at the gym with my training partner, and he looked at me one day and he said, "Doesn't it suck?" And I'm like, "What? What doesn't suck? What doesn't suck? That you're probably the hardest working guy in this gym. You're here like 5-6 days a week. You work hard. You're here an hour and a half a day, and throughout this whole year, you still look the same. You haven't changed." And that hit me hard. Like I got so defensive, right? And that kind of hurt. And so what did I do? I got back to the gym and started working out harder.
But hard doesn't work. You got to detect what's going on.
Sure. So at that time, just around the same time, maybe a week or 2 weeks, I was living with a girl, right? This was the one that I thought was going to be the one. And I walked in, and this is literally like you see in these movies where bags packed, ready to go. Literally, I walked into the house, her bags were packed, and she's like, "I can't do this anymore. We're not having sex. You barely touch me. I'm leaving. I'm out." And she left. And that literally just, everything crumbled for me at that point, because I didn't realize that my sex drive had gone. So my sex drive was gone. I was a sexual guy before as a professional athlete, but my sex drive was gone. I didn't even realize it.
Some men don't even realize that because they don't pay attention to it, right?
Yeah, well, that's what happened to me. I wasn't paying attention until she left. And so that brought me into a very dark time in my life where, I'm a man, right? And so, I started training harder, but the harder I trained, the more injured I was getting. And I still had this big belly. I was 215 pounds, big and puffy. Like I was never like that before.
Like an off-season football player.
It was brutal. It was brutal. And then, but, I started to go down the road of, listen, I wore a mask. I put this mask on my face because my manhood was shattered.
A mask of masculinity.
A mask of foolishness, because what happened was I was going to strip joints. I was doing drugs. I became an addict. I was going to after hours, getting prostitutes. Like I literally, because here's the thing, she left me because I wasn't having sex with her. Right. So I put myself into the most debaucherous sexual environments. I was banging strippers. I was like, and I became an addict because I went really deep into drugs because I was wearing a mask until it all fell apart. And it wasn't until I went to the doctor. I went, every year you go do a checkup. Yeah. And the doctor took my testosterone score and he's like, "Dude, you have a testosterone score of a grandfather. It's like 189 nanograms per deciliter."
So I got a list here, and that's very low, man.
And so when he said that to me, I'm like, I didn't know.
That's less than a 70-year-old.
Yeah, I know, 180, 80, it was insane.
Wow.
And so when he said that to me, I didn't understand what that meant, because I thought, well, I'm going to strip joints, banging strippers.
You're training all the time.
I'm big, although I was puffy and fat, I'm big. There's no way. But he explained to me what testosterone was, why the reason why I was big and fat, and the reason why, I had low sex drive, and all of the things that affect us as testosterone is. It's our number one male hormone. It's our most important male hormone. It's what makes us a man. It gives us our energy, helps us lose fat, helps us mentally and physically. Yep. It helps us with our libido, everything. Like it's our number one male hormone. And when he said that to me, he gave me two options. He said, you could do this naturally. You could, figure out ways to do this, nutrition, or I can put you on steroids. Okay. I call it steroids because that's what it is. It's not TRT.
TRT is a nice
steroids, right? Steroids. And being an athlete, I knew that steroids was not an issue. Was not something I wanted to do because as an athlete, you cannot be on steroids. So I said, okay, no, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. So I felt like I had a new lease on life because I didn't know what was going on with my body. I didn't know why I didn't have any energy. I didn't know why I had anxiety. I didn't know why I was suicidal. Because at the points, I mean, obviously the drugs, coming down from drugs didn't help, but I was literally suicidal. I wanted to die. I didn't want to live. I was like, well, what am I here for?
And sometimes suicide may not be what men are thinking, but they just don't like their life. They don't like their marriage. They're not happy with their kids. So to me, that's almost like a miniature form of it, right? Because you're not really happy.
Listen, I was unhappy to the nth degree.
Right.
But when I realized that it was testosterone that was causing all of these things, right? That gave me a new lease on life. So that's when I just dove deep into, how to nutrition, workouts. But here's the thing: there was no information at all. There was no information. Luckily for me, I had connections with sports therapists and hormone specialists, just because of being a professional athlete. I had access to those people, so they helped me, and I did a lot of research. I had to change the type of workouts, so I started doing more metabolic.
So this was around what age?
I was 40 years old.
Okay, so that's right around the spot.
Yeah, I was 40 years. So 39, everything happened, and everything kind of went to hell. And then at 40 years old, and here I am at 40, living in my parents' house as well. So like that just exasperated the whole thing. I'm living in my parents' house. I'm going AWOL for days.
Going to industry at night.
Even worse, it was film, and all the booze cans. But that new lease on life really gave me more hope, right? So I started to dig in. I completely changed my training from bodybuilding. I was doing bodybuilding training, right? Yeah. Bis and tris.
One bicep per workout.
Yeah, bis and tris, back and shoulders. The chest and abs, what have you. And so I moved to metabolic training. So that was the very first change that I did. I started to see the change. My nutrition, I completely changed my nutrition. I really honed in on what were foods that would help with testosterone and, staying away from drugs and staying away from alcohol. So I went into recovery. And
how often were you checking your blood for testosterone levels?
At that point, at that point, so after I got 189, I made the change for 6 months. Right, I literally did 3 workouts in my parents' garage. I started filming them, and 6 months later, my testosterone levels tripled.
Oh wow!
Naturally, they tripled.
Then tell me about your near-death experience. Then
sure.
I know that guy in the way of building the guy who's here today.
Yeah. So after that transformation, so I went from 215 to 186 pounds ripped. Right, that was a transformation. And at 40 years old, I literally felt like I had a new life. Right, so I started training Muay Thai. I started training Muay Thai. I went to Thailand to train and to train for a whole month at Tiger Muay Thai. Met Angela, who also trained.
Well, you met her there.
I didn't meet her there. I met her here.
Got it. But through Muay Thai.
But she liked Muay Thai. She was a former bodybuilder. Angela's my wife. So there was a little bit of a connection there. And then the very next year, we both went to Thailand and fought professionally.
Oh, wow.
Muay Thai fight. So I fought at Taipei Stadium. She fought. We were both in the same card. Amazing. We both won. I won with a second round knockout. And then that trip, I asked her to marry me. Right.
Nice.
So things are starting to change. And then 2 years later, so now I'm about 43, 44, after I really dove into the online stuff, I quit my 6-figure job. I literally walked into my president's office and said, "Hey, I'm quitting. I'm not going to do this anymore.
Thank you, but I'm gone."
And I'm gone. And he's like, "You know what? That's great, because we can tell that you're really into the fitness stuff." He was very, very supportive. I didn't tell Angela. I didn't tell my wife. So when I came home at like 10 o'clock from work, she's like, "What are you doing home?" I'm like, "I quit my job." And she's like, "Dude, you better get upstairs and get that online fitness going." And that's what I did. I leaned into the online fitness.
Excellent.
So for many years, 4, 5, 6 years, I was doing metabolic training. And then I was doing strength and conditioning for fighters. Right. And so that's Funk MMA was my brand. I had built an online MMA strength and conditioning kind of portal, so that, because for me, my goal was any fighter on the planet, I want them to be able to go to funkmma.com and be able to pick a workout and know that they're going to get the strength and conditioning they need for fighting. Right? So that was my mindset then. And so going through the years, I'm 45, 46, and then again, I'm at this point, I make a life decision, because I realize that, unfortunately, fighters don't have money, right? They don't have a lot of money. And so monetizing and being able to build a business around strength conditioning for fighters wasn't something that I wanted to continue, although I had a lot of passion for.
So is that when the recording started?
That's when I changed to Men Over 40.
Got it.
And the reason why I changed to Men Over 40 is because I had a similar story, right? So, you know, I'm going online, I'm still looking. This is 8 years ago. I'm looking online to see, okay, let's take a look at men over 40 and fitness for men over 40, because at that point I'm 47 or what have you. And I couldn't find anything. There was still nothing about men over 40, a lot for women over 40, but nothing for men over 40. And so that's when I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this men over 40 thing. And so I kind of developed this training that we're probably going to talk about, the nutrition. But at that same time, I got hit with something called crypto organizing pneumonia. This is a lung disorder.
Never heard of it.
It's very, very rare. But what happened was we had a trip to Thailand. I came back and I started to feel like I couldn't catch my breath, right? It almost started to happen gradually. So I would get on the car, I would do sprints, and then I'd be out of breath. And it got to a point that literally from here walking to that camera, I would be like completely out of breath. So of course I was going to the hospital, seeing specialists. No one knew what it was. They were very confused. And this is one time when, at that time, Angela, she was away. At the time, she was doing a course. And so my sister, my sister-in-law, Charlotte, she took me to an appointment. And at that appointment, the doctor said, listen, we don't know what this is, right? And so, you know, I'm gonna consult someone in Switzerland, but go home, stay close to your phone, and we're gonna give you a call. As soon as we left the hospital, we got a call from the doctor saying, listen, you need to come back here, because if you're gonna die, you might as well die in the hospital.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So we turned around, got in the hospital, and now here I am.
How long were you there for?
Well, here I am in the hospital. You know, I was in there for about a week and a half because they found out that it was crypto organizing pneumonia, but at this point they didn't know what it was. So here's the thing that, like, I had such a light shined on me. I'm sitting here in the hospital. My kids are coming, my kids come, my family's coming, Angela's coming. All these people are coming to see me. I'm like 47 years old and I'm helpless, right? My goal as a man is to provide, to protect, to procreate, right? The alpha purpose, provide, protect, procreate. Not be in bed and having people having to provide and come to me. I felt extremely weak. And I thought, well, this is it. If this is it, this is it. I came to grips with the fact that, okay, I'm going to probably die here. Luckily, that Swiss doctor found it was crypto organized pneumonia, and the recovery started. And that recovery meant I had to take prednisone, which kills your testosterone and then does a lot of other stuff. So, yeah, that's that was
section. The big breaking point for you. And then after, I think you probably used that scenario, that experience to say, you know what, I'm going to grow through this. I'm going to conquer this.
Right. So, but what I wanted to do was, okay, listen, if my program, this program that I was about to launch, this is the time I'm going to see if this actually works, right? It's not going to increase my testosterone during my prednisone.
You tested it within
yourself. Tested it, and instead of being on prednisone for 2 years in recovery, it was 6 months later, I was off prednisone, and I was literally back. And my testosterone levels 3 months after that increased, like doubled. It was incredible. Like the doctor literally was like, "Oh my God, what's going on? How did this happen?" And that's when I leaned into my Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood program. It was that point.
So for those of you watching, men, if you feel something is wrong and you don't feel like yourself, go get yourself checked out. You can't be a superhero and you can't keep thinking the doctors are not for me. Let's talk about understanding testosterone decline. So andropause. Andropause is the opposite of menopause, kind of like when men go through that phase.
Yeah.
How do you feel, or from most of the men that you've worked with, do you feel it's something that eventually is going to hit every man and they just prepare for it?
Yeah. So, So one of the things you need to understand is, and just as a caveat, I have a program with 15,000 members. I've changed lives of thousands and thousands and thousands of men. So when I'm talking about this, I'm not just kind of saying this on a high level. Right. It's literally the results that are talking to this. But what happens to men when we reach the age of 30, our testosterone levels naturally decrease 1% to 2% every year.
It's crazy. 30 years old.
Yeah, so there's physiological changes that happen. That's number one. Number two is sarcopenia, which is a natural loss of muscle due to aging. So after 30, we start to lose about 8% of our muscle every decade. And when you reach in your 50s, that accelerates, right? And then also our metabolism slows down. Now, this isn't something that's physiological as much as it's due to our sedentary lifestyle. Right. So all of these things start to happen and they start to build up. Because in our 30s, when you're in your 30s, you're not thinking about, longevity. You're thinking about your corporate career probably, right? You're thinking about, you probably just had kids. All of those things are happening. So one of the things that by time you reach 39, 40, you feel like, oh my God, all of a sudden something's happening. But it's something that's gradually happening throughout your 30s. So by the time you get to your 40s, your testosterone levels are super low. In fact, we are in an epidemic right now. Right. Testosterone levels are the lowest they've ever been in the history of modern day mankind. Like literally with all the advancements in research, all the advancements in
nutrition,
medicine, all the info that we have, the fact that our testosterone levels are the lowest is mind-boggling.
Right.
And that's just because there's no information, right? There's not a lot of, there's still not a lot of information about how to naturally increase testosterone.
Right.
It's more like, oh, let's just throw people on TRT. But the point is, it's something that's going to happen, specifically if you're not doing the things, living a healthy lifestyle, which most guys aren't. They're not really thinking about that, right?
And for those of you guys who are wanting to understand more, so testosterone is your primary sex hormone.
Yeah.
It's responsible for muscle mass, bone density, fat distribution. It's essential for male development, not just big muscles, but influencing things from hair, your voice, your physical strength. It's present in both men and women, more for men, but it peaks in early adulthood. Then it gradually declines with age. So it's crucial for overall well-being. And one of the things affects energy, mood, libido, blood cell production as well. What do you think are some of the factors that are contributing to declining testosterone in men?
Yeah, so one of the key factors is just the knowledge. What I learned very quickly when I launched my Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, I started to lead with testosterone. Like, hey, this is a program that helps you naturally increase testosterone. And one of the things I realized is guys had no clue. They had I don't care about testosterone. I just want to lose this belly fat.
Right.
They didn't know. And it's not that they don't pay attention. It's just there's no information. Like I actually created National Testosterone Awareness Day. There's a day online that's called, it's an actual day. Nice. Because there's no information out there about what testosterone is, why it's important, how to naturally increase. So I had to create a day. It's November 17th every year.
Touch me, bro.
National Testosterone Day.
Love it.
So
November 17th?
Yeah, so number one is lack of knowledge. And that's not your fault. Okay, this is not your fault because there's nothing out there that kind of you can look for. Number two, testosterone gets a bad name, right? It gets villainized. And more now, the word testosterone is always related to a toxic male. Testosterone has nothing to do with the toxic male. Testosterone is our number one male hormone. If we don't have it, we will die. That's all there is to it. So that negativity kind of pushes men away from like, oh, okay, testosterone. They just think of that. They just think of Arnold Schwarzenegger. They think of big guys in the gym. Right. Those guys are just toxic guys. And most of those guys don't have a lot of testosterone. They're just wearing that mask. The other thing is just sedentary lifestyle, right? Like not exercising and working out, not eating the right food.
You're in a catabolic state,
not
sedentary.
Yeah, not focusing on recovery, not focusing on sleep, not focusing on all of the elements that will help you naturally increase testosterone. And again, it's not your fault. There's not a lot of info. There's more info now than there was before, but there's still not a lot of info. So that's what I think, and just our food is not the same as it used to be, right? So there are a lot of factors that happen, but the good news is you can naturally increase it, right? Getting checked is number one, so you can see where you're at.
Can genetics, or have you ever, since your experience, can genetics play a big part of your role? Like, other than your parents having low testosterone, or can that make a big difference?
Well, here's the thing about parents with testosterone. My parents, testosterone in the 80s, right? Like the normal testosterone level right now, like if you go to get your testosterone level checked, they give you a normal. There's this range that's like 200, or depending where you go, 200 to 300 nanograms per deciliter to 900. That's normal. Does that sound normal to you when you have such a massive? It's 200 to 900. It's 700 points. But here's the thing: back in the 80s, normal testosterone, low to high, was like 800 to 1500. Men in the 80s and the 70s, their testosterone levels were much higher. Right. So our fathers had much higher testosterone. Our grandfathers had much higher testosterone than we do today. So the genetic part of it is not genetic. It's a lifestyle thing. Right now, the only time testosterone will decrease due to a specific factor would be if you were injured Like if you had
pituitary gland is injured.
if you had a head injury,
Yeah.
that's number one. So if you've had a head injury, CTE, anything like that affects your testosterone. I'm going to explain that in a second because I'm going to explain how testosterone is made. And the only other thing is if you've had damage to your testes, right? So like if you played rugby or played a sport or was in an accident. Those are the only two times where I would say you got to go on TRT because something natural is not happening. And the reason why is testosterone production happens in the morning. It happens early in the morning or late at night when you are in your deep sleep. That's why sleep is so important, right? REM and deep sleep is super important because that's when testosterone production happens. And it starts in the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus will release gonadotropin hormone. It's a hormone that goes to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland then releases follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. And those hormones will travel all the way down to the testes. And the follicle stimulating hormone is more for your sex health, right? Like estrogen, sex health. That makes sure your estrogen levels aren't too high. They're a little bit low. But luteinizing hormone gets to the Leydig cells and it knocks on the door of the Leydig cells. Leydig cell opens up and if there's cholesterol in your Leydig cells, then testosterone production happens. You need cholesterol. If there's no cholesterol in your Leydig cell, in your testes, then there's no testosterone production. So cholesterol is very important. But as you can see, it starts from the hypothalamus in the brain and it ends in the testes. So if those two things aren't working, then you're definitely going to need exogenous steroids or testosterone. Other than that, the other 95% of men who have low testosterone, you do it naturally.
Okay. How often should a man check?
Every 3 to 6 months is good, but you're not just checking for the sake of checking. You're checking to see where you're at, and then you're implementing a lifestyle that will allow you to see the increase on a 3-month or 6-month basis.
Crazy. So check out these stats that I got here for you guys from the HSS Hospital of Special Surgery in New York. Annual decline in testosterone starting around 30 to 40. Men's levels decrease 1 to 2% each year. Over 1/3 of men over 45 have testosterone levels below normal for their age. Did you hear that? Over 1/3 of men over 45. There was another one that talked about the study from the Yale School of Medicine found that from 1999 to 2016, testosterone levels in adolescent and young adult men ages 15 to 39 declined significantly, potentially due to rising inactivity, obesity, environmental toxins, and lifestyle changes. We just spoke about that, posing serious long-term effects. Accelerated muscle loss. You talked about sarcopenia,
100%.
right? 3 to 5% of muscle mass per year after 30. That's nuts. I'm 46. That's 16 years after that. Increased risk of osteoporosis. Lower testosterone levels lead to brittle bones, increased risk factors. I have a client, Madeline, that I train. She's 69, going to 70, and she just went for a checkup, and her doctor said, wow, for almost being 70 years old, you got no issues with your bones. Your bone density is super strong. She's been training for so many years. And then I think the impact on mental health is important because symptoms of low testosterone in adult men include obviously reduced sex drive, erectile dysfunction, fatigue, and more. That's from the Cleveland Clinic. So let's talk about impact of modern lifestyle. So we talked about some of the stuff. We talked about sleep, which I'm guilty of because I'm one of those guys that thinks, you can grind, you can work hard, 6 hours is 6.5 is not right. But I'm 46 now and I'm noticing that 6 hours is not nearly what I need, especially if I'm destroying my body in the gym 4 or 5 times a week. Let's talk about diet or, social media, Hollywood, technology. How do those things affect?
Okay, well, let's just talk about, let me start with the ways you can naturally increase your testosterone, right? Because I think a lot of the things that I'm going to cover on that. Perfect. So the first thing is definitely the mindset, right? The mindset that, yes, you can naturally increase testosterone, but you also have to have and lean into the mindset that you're going to have to make changes, right? You're going to have to make changes. What is your why, right? You got to establish that why. What is going to be the thing that's going to drive you every day to make those small changes? What's the thing that's going to, when Brenda comes to work with donuts and she puts them on the table, goes, okay, guys, have your donuts. What is going to be that thing that keeps you away from those donuts, right? Brenda, your donuts are awesome, amazing, but I'm okay for now. I love your donuts, but I'm okay for now. It's that why, because we always succumb. We're excited at the beginning, but we always succumb. So mindset's number one. Number two is recovery. And I'm going to give you 2 different types of things for recovery. The first thing about recovery is mental health recovery, right? Because
See, when you
cortisol.
said, something to cut you off, but as soon as you said recovery, I'm thinking sleep, foam rolling, lacrosse, but you're talking mental recovery.
There's physical recovery and mental
I
recovery.
like that. Tell me more.
So testosterone, like every superhero, has villains, right? Things that we need to thwart, things that are probably increased in our lives, which is causing low testosterone. Number one is cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. Now, we do need cortisol throughout the day. Like, in fact, our cortisol levels are probably high right now because we're focused.
Camera, a little nervous.
Yeah, cortisol levels get high when we work out, right? But our cortisol levels are, and in the morning when we wake up, our cortisol levels are high because that gets us up, that gets us awake. But as the day goes on and as things happen, our cortisol levels, although they'll spike once in a little bit, we need to keep that low. So by nighttime, our cortisol levels are low. But most of us have chronic cortisol levels, very high. Stress, anxiety, I got work, I got my family, I got my kids, I got this, I got that, I got politics, I got all these things that are happening around us. I've got social media, I got the phone, I got all these things that are spiking our cortisol levels, which we need to keep down. 100%. So that's one thing. So cortisol. Another enemy is estrogen. Estrogen is a female hormone. Okay, it's a female hormone. Now we do need a little bit of estrogen for a healthy sex life, but too much estrogen, that causes the belly fat, that causes that blocks testosterone, of course, the man boobs.
Yep.
So we do have, insulin resistance as well. We have enemies. So when I talk about mental recovery, I'm talking about keeping that chronic stress levels, our cortisol levels at bay. So there's three things that I want to talk about when it comes to mental recovery. Number one, breath work, right? So it's learning how to do breath work. The key to recovery and keeping cortisol levels low are keeping all of that anxiety and stress at bay, right? And it's not something that
is the first thing that can control your stress.
Breathing's great. Meditation's amazing. I know it sounds woo-woo, but meditation's extremely important. Breath work, meditation, and gratitude journaling. And that's really one of the biggest changes for my guys. So I'm going to start talking about the guys in my brotherhood because I implement all of these things. So one of the biggest things that we did was a gratitude journal challenge, right? Every morning or at night, you write down the things that you're grateful for. Because a lot of times we only focus on the things that are stressing us. Right? We don't pay enough attention to all the amazing things that we have in our lives, our family, our gyms, all of our things that we have, you write down. And at first, guys were struggling. Even when I've been gratitude journaling for like 10 years. And I remember when I first started doing it, I could only write 5 or 6 things down, right? But now, if you look at my gratitude journal, it's like 60 things.
Some guys have ego. I write to my kids in a little journal every night and I tell them how my life is, my story, and I told them you ain't going to get these till you're 20 years old, but it's very important.
Yeah, so 100%, but it also gives you a better lease on life. When you start to see all of the great things that you're thankful for. Remember, these are things that you're grateful for. It could be anything. Sometimes, you will be in my gratitude journal tomorrow. I'm grateful for this opportunity to sit here. I'm grateful for meeting Christian and everyone here. Like, that's going to be because I'm happy about that, having that experience. But what that starts to do is you start to look at the positive things in your life. You start to not sweat the small stuff. And that was one of the results, the testimonials from that challenge. The guys were just like, dude, like, I'm just much happier now. I'm not stressing over stupid things because I'm focusing
not impulsively reacting to things.
Yeah, like, you're taking a little bit more time. But the gratitude journal is great. And also writing down 3 big things that you need to do the next day. Because a lot of times before we go to sleep, and I'll talk about the sleep, we're not getting good sleep because we're thinking about things that happened during the day, or we're thinking about things that we have to do the next day. Right. But when you write down 3 things that you have to do the next day and write them down, that allows you to release it and get some good sleep. And then the breath work, right? Learning how to breathe, box breathing. There's so many different breathing techniques that we have in our program that will help. And then meditation too, taking time with yourself, right? Oftentimes we don't like being alone.
Too involved, text, phone call, meeting, Zoom. And one of my mentors always told me, you can't be mad and happy at the same time. You can't be grateful and angry at the same time. Sure. You got to choose one of them. Right?
Exactly. So that's and studies have shown over and over again that those 3 things help with bringing cortisol levels down and naturally increasing testosterone and living a more healthier life.
And you don't even need a gym to do
No,
that.
you
Just
do that
all
at
normal
home.
stuff.
You shoot at home.
Beautiful.
The physical recovery is what you're talking
Training,
about,
yeah.
right? Is the mobility work, is the foam rolling, is the things that are keeping inflammation down, because inflammation
Right.
also blocks testosterone, but it also allows you to stay injury free.
Right.
One of the things that we struggle with as we get older, back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, oh, I can't walk up the stairs, this hurts,
Hear
oh,
my
I can't
knees
work
cracking in the
out,
morning when
right?
I walk up.
We don't have to live that way, right? You know, we're sedentary. We need to do a lot more mobility work, hip mobility. So that type of stuff not only helps with longevity, but also helps with your hormones and helps you stay in the gym. So that's the first thing, is the recovery piece. The next thing is sleep. You talked about that.
Yeah.
This is the lowest hanging fruit that is going to give you the most bang and benefit of all things that you can do. Because
So what do you try to get every night? 6 hours?
it's 7 to 9 hours sleep.
7 to
regardless.
9.
100%.
Amen to that.
100%.
You beat me on that. So then, okay, we got those two things, and then we obviously know the major things: exercise,
Yeah.
resistance training,
But it's
cardiovascular
specific.
workout, or
Not cardiovascular.
metabolic training.
Yeah, not cardiovascular.
Okay,
Cardio workouts kill your testosterone
there you go.
and they make you fat
Especially if you're going to be running on the treadmill for more than 15 minutes or 10
and
minutes.
increase your cortisol.
Right.
So after sleep, 7 to 9 hours, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because I just told you that if testosterone levels if testosterone production starts at night, you have to be in deep sleep, right? But sleep is not just hormones, it's building muscle, it's losing fat, it's your energy, it's chronic illness. You guys coming in with diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol issues, all of those things are chronic health issues that just getting 7 to 9 hours sleep can make a massive difference. So that's the sleep part. Now, when we move into the workouts, it's the type of workouts you do, right? So when I first started, I was telling you guys I was doing the bodybuilding style,
Yeah.
and I was also getting on the cardio machine for 60 minutes. Both of those things increase cortisol, keep cortisol levels low, and create a catabolic environment.
For those of you who don't know, catabolic is the opposite of anabolic muscle building. So you're actually breaking down muscle and shrinking.
Yeah. We do want to break down muscle though.
Yes.
During
we
the workout.
We don't want to do it in a way where we're overtraining and we're not fueling properly, or like you said, doing endless hours of cardio, which isn't going to be anabolic stimulant for your body.
Yeah.
Let's move to now something that I know you don't like. Let's talk about TRT, the epidemic. What's your take on it? And can you explain me if there's any differences in TRT? I know there's creams, there's needles.
I don't. Yeah. So you can see I got a little bit
He's getting vexed now.
agitated.
He doesn't want to talk
agitated.
about it.
No, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it 100%. But yeah, metabolic training, nutrition, of course, is key as well. And then supplementation. But if we want to move into TRT, so steroids, that's what testosterone replacement therapy is. And it is something that is getting pushed more and more because a lot of fitness influencers just jump on it because it's now giving, it's becoming normalized for, oh, you have low testosterone, just go on TRT. But here's the problem with that. When you have low testosterone, and first of all, when you go on TRT, I don't know about you, and I don't know if you're on it or whatever,
No.
but I know that when I can pick out a guy on TRT 100%.
You can tell.
He's usually, his face is really big, he's got really bad skin,
Big
he's
bloated
very puffy,
delts.
right? He's always red, right? Like that's kind of what you're seeing. But here's the thing. Remember, naturally increasing your hormones is not just about increasing testosterone, it's about living a healthy lifestyle, right? You want to live a complete healthy lifestyle. So your longevity is not just, 5 years, it's still you're 100 and you're doing burpees when you're 100 because you're in great shape. So you have to still learn how to live. And most guys who go on TRT, they still eat horrible. They still drink. They may go to the gym once in a while, but after a while they may not go to the gym, right? So it's like it's one of those things that doctors will quickly prescribe because they're going to get paid for it.
Well, now they're getting paid separately on the side for it.
So they're going to get paid, or people are opening up clinics. They're not even doctors; they're just opening up clinics because they can monetize it because there's such an epidemic. But what they should be doing is saying, okay, listen, before you take this, let's see if you have any damage to the brain or to the testes, and then let's see you live healthy. Let's see you, increase it naturally before going on. But generally speaking, you don't need to go on it. There's so many side effects, unhealthy side effects. Prostate cancer is a big one, right? When your T levels are too increase too much, and then the cost. Like, believe me. So what happens when you inject steroids into your butt or you rub steroids on your body or whatever
There's
it is.
cream, there's orals, there's needles.
Right. So what happens is you're sending a message to the brain and to your body that they no longer need to
shut down natural production.
They no longer need to produce testosterone. And that's extremely dangerous. So that whole crew that I talked about, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, the gonadotropin hormones, the luteinizing and follicle stimulant hormone, those guys, they're like, oh, wait a minute. We don't need to produce? Okay. And they all pack up and they're deep sea fishing. Right? They're in the middle of the ocean. They're nowhere to be found.
Which also means you have to continue taking it for a while. Now you got to take Clomid and Arimidex and all these other things to balance your estrogen level. And
yeah, so the cost of TRT is very expensive. And I've had a lot of men come into my program who had to stop taking TRT. But because you were injecting it or however you're taking it, you stop producing. So your testosterone levels will literally be 90. It'll literally be 80. It'll be at a stance. It'll be so low, and it doesn't just click up again. You have to start living a natural lifestyle. So as soon as you stop, and it doesn't matter if you're taking TRT for a week, soon as that body understands and the brain understands that you're injecting it or exogenous testosterone, everything shuts down. They're deep sea fishing. They can't even hear you with the bat signal when you need them.
It's a tricky ball game you're getting into with that, because you got to be balancing and getting doctor checkups. And again, you're affecting the natural homeostasis of the male body.
100%.
Let's talk about this then. Are men losing their masculinity today? Like, do you feel society has placed the Spartan, oh, you don't have to be tough and rough and strong, and you don't have to be that. You know, you see so many TV shows with guys that are overweight, and they're not being the true dad and role model. Do you feel society's kind of making it okay?
100%. They're feminizing us, right? They all started with the dad bod. Like I've been watching this for many, many years, right? I watched it. It's the key factor was the dad bod.
The evolution of
when they showed what's his name?
Al Bundy?
No. It was an actor. He was on the beach. And he had a dad bod, right? And he's an actor, and he had all these beautiful women. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
There was a picture of Leonardo on the beach with all these chicks, right? It's like, look, guys, Leonardo's 40 years old or whatever it is. It's a dad bod. But what people don't realize is Leonardo DiCaprio is an actor. So that means that his body changes all the time. He maybe was getting overweight for an actual role, right? But they started to make this is the look at 40 because this is what's happening. So the dad bod's okay, but the dad bod's killing you because that is that's visceral fat. The fat under that's the fat by in the organs that are killing you.
So let's slowly break down to our last topics: is common misconceptions about testosterone and men's health. What do you think are some of the biggest myths surrounding testosterone levels and aging that you want to debunk?
One for testosterone is that it makes you aggressive, right? Like if your testosterone levels are high, then you're going to be toxic, right? You're going to be toxic and aggressive, and you're not going to be able to control yourself. But as I mentioned before, testosterone is the number one male hormone. We're not talking 2,000 nanograms per deciliter. We're talking 600 to 1,000.
We're not talking about guys who are taking 500 cc's of Deca-Dur-Ball.
Yeah, I'm looking to get my guys up to 1,000. Actually, 600 is the low. So it's 1,000 that I want them at. I want these guys at a level where they feel energized. They're battling chronic health issues. Their metabolism's great. They have metabolic health. Like if you have high testosterone and you're doing it naturally, you're definitely not going to suffer from a lot of chronic health issues. You may have some that pop up, but it's that having testosterone is toxic. That is a big misconception. It is not. It is our number one male hormone. The second thing is aging. Like that life after 40, it's over. Right.
Yeah,
and
that
is huge.
I meet men all the time, and they're like, I'm 45, 50. I'm used to this, and maybe it's too late. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
But again, I'm always empathetic to those guys because it's just that they don't know. When you're told that, and then maybe the family that you're around is living an unhealthy lifestyle, and even if you've tried to make changes, sometimes they're not going to. Sometimes your own family is not going to be the most supportive, right. And that's just because you're changing. They don't want you to change. Right. But the thing is that it's never too late. I have men coming in who are 70 and changing their bodies and their lives. I have men coming in their 60s. It's not 60 is the new 20, right? Like so many healthy and active 60-year-old men and 70-year-old men and men over 40 getting back to the sports and the things that they used to love.
I find it flattering that whenever I go to gyms, because my son plays basketball, so during the time when he's playing basketball, I go to community centers in Woodbridge and I train. And here I am, 46, turning 47 in 2 months, and I'm lifting, running, pulling, doing way more than guys in their 20s.
Yeah.
And then they'll come up to me and they'll ask me, am I natty? And I'm like, I'm 46. I've been training since I was 17, brother.
Yeah.
Of course I'm natty.
Yeah.
What do you want to see? What changes do you want to see over the next decade when it comes to testosterone?
I just want to see, I'll tell you truthfully, I want to see more fitness influencers lean into naturally increasing testosterone rather than using the crutch of TRT. Because I'll tell you what's happening. And again, I was one of the first for men over 40. There was really 3 of us when I started, right? Fit Father Academy and Anabolic Live and myself. Okay, those were the only 3 doing men over 40 because all these other fitness guys who are now 40 were in their 30s. But what happens is they become 40, and again, no disrespect to any other fitness guy. Okay, no disrespect, although I will check you, but there's no disrespect. But what happens is you turn 40 and you start to say, okay, well, I'm 40 now, so now I'm going to go to the men over 40 thing. Mm-hmm. But you haven't really done the work of understanding how to naturally increase testosterone and how to train over 40. You're still using your old mindset. Right. And so what happens is, oh, let me just get on TRT because that's cool. And then, oh, a TRT clinic wants to sponsor me? Great, I'm an influencer. Let's make some money. And so and then it's like, oh, you're 40, you're 50, you gotta stop eating shit. Like, and it's like the berating that I read in all these emails that I get because I follow everybody. I want to see more of the influencers that have that influence lean into naturally increasing testosterone and the natural way of longevity because it's going to catch up to them. There are many fitness influencers that I know, big names, that were on TRT and now are off.
Right, you could tell.
There were, and they'll tell you, oh man, here's my experience, why I went off TRT. Here's my experience. I've seen 4 big, massive names, and they've shared their story. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen for 100%. It's not, you're not going to be able to do it forever. So that's one thing. And the other thing is just more information about, just like, you know, the information about testosterone for men, right. Like how to naturally increase. Yeah, like just more info, like being accessible out there, right? I think that's one of the things that I'd like to see.
One of the biggest, most saddest things that I've seen is I grew up in the bodybuilding, the natural drug-free bodybuilding world. I competed for 9 years. And when I look at some of the people I looked up to, Ronnie Coleman, Flex Wheeler, some of these guys that, were the bodies of a Greek god. They had so much going for them now, can't walk, have had surgeries. Arnold's had 2 open heart surgeries. So for a lot of young men, testosterone looks like the easy, quick way. All these influencers, Sam Selleck now, they're really, really big and muscular, and young boys growing up are seeing this and thinking, hey, I'm gonna start doing some juice too.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna challenge that because are you surprised that Ronnie Coleman, Flex Wheeler look like that?
No, when you're squatting 800 pounds, you're probably gonna have problems.
And they're not just putting it like you're making it seem like they're just putting testosterone. They got the laundry list of steroids.
Growth
right?
hormone, that's another.
My wife used to be a bodybuilder.
Right.
Okay, so there's a laundry list. Okay. Right. So that doesn't shock me. Right. That's gonna happen. The juice was worth a squeeze for them because they made a lot of money during the bodybuilding years.
Right.
But am I seeing more young guys in their 20s and 30s taking testosterone? No, because young guys in their 20s and 30s are weak as hell.
Right.
They're not there may be the Sam Sulik or whatever followers that are just following him, or maybe some of them are going on juice. But I don't think that's any different from when we were kids and when we were in our 20s and when we were looking at the Flex magazine, and then we'd have buddies who would be on the juice. Like, I don't think it's any different. I don't think that those guys are sending I don't think they're sending the wrong message. So I like they get thrown under the bus. Oh, it's 20. Like everyone's doing it, dude. Not everyone's doing it. How many guys do you look at in their 20s, and you may see more in a gym, that you walk down the street that you think are 20 years old on TRT? None. Like, I don't see any. Please show me these guys. We need more men. We need more, right? Their T levels are already high. right? So if they're going to go on it, sure. I don't see that being a big difference to me anyway. And I'm not surprised that the bodybuilders who look like that, or who like in the end, but we do see a lot of bodybuilders who change their training.
Yep.
And save their bodies, right? The Kevin
Like Kevin
Levrone
used to be my favorite, man. When I saw him in some of those YouTube videos, man, I'm like, bro, this guy looks like he's 150 pounds. And I looked up to him before.
But he looks great now.
And what happened was, at first I'm thinking, oh my God, he looks like a different person, but he's normal. He's natural now.
Labrada.
And now they're talking about it.
Yeah, Dorian.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a longevity. It's a lifesaver. But it's what they did.
So let's close out with the future of men's health and longevity. How can a man right now who's 40 plus, what are like the most basic things? If they're watching right now, they're like, listen, I'm not going to hire a trainer. I can't go to a gym. What can I do basic?
Okay, without going to over40alpha.com, we should go there. The first thing is, committing. You got to have a why. Like you can't start anything without a why. And the reason why is because whenever we jump to, okay, you know what, I'm going to lose this weight, I'm going to try this fasting challenge, I'm going to try this workout, whatever. We get excited and we jump to the workouts and we jump to the nutrition. But 2 weeks after, it's like having a new toy. You have a new toy, you open up, it's all awesome. You play with your G.I. Joe for 1 week and then 2 weeks. And after a while, you just throw it away and you want something else. It's the same thing. When things get hard, when things get normalized, when Brenda comes in with the, or your buddies want to go out for a drink, it's very difficult unless you have a why that's going to make you cry. But once you have that, then you want to get to a gym or work out. You can just work out at home. Body weight workout, but you want to buy some dumbbells. Buy 10 pound, 15 pound, 20 pound dumbbells if you have nothing to start, and implement workouts that are short, 20 minutes only, nothing more. 20 to 30 minutes, that's all you need.
Intense.
Metabolic training, move from one exercise to another. So you do body weight squats for 30 seconds, then you rest for 30. Then you do lying floor presses with dumbbells for 30 seconds, and then you rest, and you pick 4 or 5 exercises. So that's number 2. Then you want to start getting rid of sugar, getting rid of processed foods, really starting to research more nutrition, adding vegetables and fruits.
So we got 1, you need your why, which is the mindset. Number 2, we got to train. You can't go around this. You got to lift weights.
Yeah, you gotta start exercising. You don't go 0 to 100, right? You start off with basic body weight and invest in dumbbells. Invest in a home gym, because we went through COVID. We saw what happens. You went through it. Invest in a home gym, but get out and go to the gym if you can.
Clean eating, number 3, we talked about. Not processed foods, guys.
And sleep. You want to start focusing on your sleep. Now that's a lot of stuff. You're not doing it all at once,
right?
But sleep. And then and getting a community. One of the biggest things that I've seen that has really helped with the results, right, is our brotherhood. It's a community. It's all men who are 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s from all over the world. We don't talk politics. We don't talk religion. We don't talk pop culture. But these are guys from all walks of life, all religions, all backgrounds, all and telling each other, hey man, I love you, let's go, supporting each other, because we're all on the same journey, right? You want to be amongst men who are on the same journey as you, who have the same focus, because you can lean into them for accountability, you can lean into them for support. And listen, here's the other thing too, and this is probably one of the biggest things, I didn't talk about this. We all have things that we carry from when we were younger, or with things that we've done. Remember, we lived in a time when there was no, phones. So we've all suffered from something, right? We need to
man.
We have to offload that on a professional who has no ties to us. And so once you connect with guys who are on the same journey, you start to understand each other, right? You keep each other accountable. Being part of a group is so crucial, because community is what's going to keep you going.
You can have guys that are quietly not responding, but they're in there listening.
Yes.
And then when I communicate with them, they're like, hey man, I don't speak a lot in the group, but I'm watching, and without this group, I'd be worse. I'd be eating worse, and I got no motivation, but I see one guy do it, and then I feel like doing it. So it's very important.
It is. Even I use my brotherhood. We have a Facebook, it's a program, right? Workouts, nutrition, recovery, everything we've talked about, follow along workouts. But we also have a Facebook group, which is our brotherhood. We call it the brotherhood, right? We have our own signs, we have our own sayings. But even when I go into brotherhood, and I see everyone posting their sweaty selfies because that's one of the rituals that we have. We post a picture with our sign after our workouts, right? Just to keep ourselves accountable. There's days when I don't like. Listen, 80% of the time I don't want to work out. Okay, let's get real. 80% of the time I do not want to work because I know it's going to be
for years,
very,
man.
very difficult. My workouts are difficult, so I know it's going to be tough. I know it's going to be difficult. So there's days, and I'm an entrepreneur. So for you entrepreneurs out there, for you CEOs out there, for you high level, you need this 100%. And I travel quite a bit, but I learned to get it done. But the thing is, there'll be times where I'll just scroll in my brotherhood, and I will. All I need to do is scroll and see like 20 posts.
And it motivates.
And I'm like, okay, I'm in. Because all these guys are showing their sweaty selfie, and all these guys are saying, I just finished this workout. It's like, I got to do it. Not just for me, but I got to do it for the brotherhood. You know, you start doing things for the community when you're a part of something. Remember what it felt like to be on a team. Remember what it felt like when all of your buddies that you hung out with were all on the same page. That's the connection we need. And as we get older, we lose friends. We lose friends.
Kids, you lose friends.
Yeah, we lose that.
You.
So we need to connect.
Right.
And so finding a community while you're going through this process, because it's difficult to do it alone, is going to be a surefire way for success.
Well, Funk, I'm really thankful you came today. I'm going to recap the 6 things that each said, because I wrote them down. One is you need your why. If you have a why, you can walk a week without food because you know your why is strong. Number 2, you got to work out. You need to start lifting weights, body weight, whatever it is, you got to start. Number 3, we talked about food, cleaning up your food, stop eating excess sugars, processed foods, eat food that came from the floor or was walking on 4 legs. Number 4, we talked about sleep, and what I learned from you today, which I'm a pretty smart guy. I've been in this industry for a while. I'm not going to toot my horn. I read a lot, but I didn't pay attention to the mindset of recovery with the breathing and the cortisol and the stress, because I have high stress.
Yes.
I try to accomplish a lot, and sometimes I think that my training and my eating is going to be okay, or my sleeping, but what about the journaling and the breathing and being calm? Number 5, we talked about community. And if you don't have a community, I keep telling you, you will never become as successful, as proud, as confident, as strong on your own. No business owner became the best on their own.
No.
And then number 6, I think you really hit it hard. And this is something that I think overlaps the entire casing of, low testosterone, low libido, masculinity, is talking about getting help.
Oh, 100%.
Getting help from a professional.
Not even a question.
Getting help from someone who's going to listen to you, from a therapist. I had a great time sitting with you, brother. Anything left that you want to let the viewers know in terms of any motivation, inspiration, anything you want to leave them with from Funk Master?
Yeah, I think, the 3 C's, if I can remember these 3 C's, first thing is committing, right? So, you've heard a lot of information today. If you do feel like you've been struggling mentally, physically, emotionally, you don't know what's happening with your body, you need to commit, right? Make that commitment to yourself first and foremost. You're the most important person to you and to your family, but you have to commit to yourself. You can't be the father, the role model, the grandfather to other people if there's no love for yourself. And the love for yourself means you're going to treat your body, treat what you do and your behaviors to your potential and to the best you can, so you can live till you're 100. So you need to commit, right? Number 2, you need to challenge yourself to stay outside your comfort zone. As Dimitri said, the growth happens in the challenges. Growth happens outside of your comfort zone. We are too comfortable, and we have to, although it's very uncomfortable, change is uncomfortable, that's actually what we want to be feeling. Because the more uncomfortable you have, the more adversity you're going to overcome. And the more adversity you're going to overcome, the more, like you were talking about being a Spartan, right? It's having that shield that becomes stronger and stronger.
It's a core identity that I feel like I've always given myself.
Right, and you start to challenge yourself more and more, and you start to lean into things that help you grow. So number 1, commit. Number 2, challenge. And number 3, you have to be consistent. Okay, we have to stop starting and stopping. Yes, there's going to be tough times, right? And this is where we make this a lifestyle. This isn't just doing a challenge or doing a fasting challenge. Oh yeah, I'm doing this 70 hard or whatever these things are.
75
you
hard.
You want to
2
do
months.
something that is a lifestyle change, because life happens. We are living life on life's terms. it happens. Things are going to happen. Things happen to me all the time. I still have to get my workouts in. They may not be 30, 40-minute crazy workouts. They may be short, but I get it done. I travel a lot. So do I bring my resistance bands? I do body weight stuff. I plan, eating, right? Brenda's always going to be coming every Wednesday with the donuts and the muffins, right? At this point, Brenda, I love you, girl. You're the best, but I don't eat that stuff anymore. You're going to find that Brenda is going to start baking something healthy just for you because Brenda respects what you're doing, right? Life happens. You still have to do the gratitude journal. You still have to do your mobility on your off days, but that becomes a habit. And then you start to feel better. Make that commitment. Today, after you watch this video or listen to this podcast, go in the mirror, look in that mirror and look at yourself. Take your clothes off and look at yourself.
Yes.
Look at what you look like.
Because
I used to not look in the mirror. I didn't know I weighed 250 pounds. I didn't know I had a belly this big. I didn't know that because I was afraid to look at myself. I always kept the old professional volleyball player funk in my head. So every time I looked in the mirror, I didn't see what was there. I saw the old thing. Look at yourself and say, I'm committed. I got to make this commitment to myself.
I like those 3 C's, bro. Commit, challenge, and consistency.
Those are the 3
Nice,
things I
bro.
need you to do.
How can people learn more about you?
Over40alpha.com.
That's it. That's all. Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. Remember, if you live in the city of Vaughan, you want to come to this beautiful facility, you need help, reach out to us. Let us know. If you're looking for some online help and you're a man and you want to get some help and you feel that this relates to you and you want to get some one-on-one attention, reach out to us. And remember, as always, average is the enemy and attitude is everything. Thanks a lot for coming by, bro.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you for
having me.
having me.
We'll catch you on the next one.
Take care.
You got to take care, guys. Peace for now.